All right, everyone, how we doing out there? Welcome into the fourth episode of Sports Talk of this academic year. Hope we're all doing real well. Midterms should be in just about in the rearview mirror now. Fall break is taken care of. More than halfway through this semester. It's flying by, let me tell you. And the sports world is turning just as fast as the semester is flying by. There's lots going on here, and we are going to get into a nice topic on this edition of Sports Talk. So we've got it's a nice time to be a sports fan. Very exciting. The NBA is in full swing. The NHL. We have the World Series. We're in the midst of that. And, of course, NFL action. We have college basketball coming up. We got lots of stuff going on. So we talked last time about the NFL and the World Series, or rather in the MLB playoffs. So this week we're going to take a little bit of a different aspect on things and focus on one issue or one topic. And the topic we're choosing this week is the G League and the new contract that the NBA is offering, or the G League is offering, for top high school prospects, known as the Select Contract. So we've never shied away from talking about college athletics on this show, and I have my outspoken opinion on things that, college athletes need to be compensated in some way. I'm an advocate of paying them, or I'm an advocate for paying them. And, I think that this contract is a step definitely in the right direction. Now, we'll get into what is this contract if you don't know. Then we'll also talk about the effect it's going to have possibly on college basketball or the NBA. And then, of course, we will discuss the issues that have been raised by some members of the WNBA on the fairness of this contract to them, and to the players and to the league and all that. So we will cover it all on this episode of Sports Talk. All right, so here we go. Let's start off with the basics. So the G League is going to be offering a $125,000 select contract to elite prospects that are coming out of high school, as opposed to going to college for a year and doing the one and done. They would be going to the G League for a year for development for, a 5-month season, and $125,000 would be their compensation. And then at that point, they would enter the NBA draft just as if they were a college prospect, because no one NBA team does own their rights. Even if the team in the G League they play for is owned by an NBA team, that team doesn't own the rights to them, so they would end up going to the draft like any other prospect. So this obviously, on the surface, is an answer to the one and done. It's obviously something that's trying to eliminate that. Of course, the NBA does still have the age restriction, and that is why teams won't be owning the rights to players, and why they can't enter the NBA draft directly. And that rule is expected to be in place until at least 2022. So until that is abolished, and I think it will be, and personally, I think it should be, this is the best solution that we have. So, I'll tell you my opinion right off the bat of it is that this is a good thing that's happening. It offers players an alternative to college, because we all know, we've talked about it before on this show, that a lot of these athletes are in need of money, and a scholarship isn't what they're looking for, despite the great opportunity they have and the education that could be at their fingertips. Their focus is on basketball and not really in the classroom. And that might sound bad to say, but, if we want to deal with the facts are the facts, and that's what they're focused on, is their on-the-court ability rather than in the classroom. So this offers a nice alternative to them. What this does also is, not only does it attempt to answer the one and done, but it turns up the pressure on the NCAA to finally decide to offer some compensation to their players, or allow them to benefit in some other kinds of ways. We've seen it recently where the NCAA is kind of looking at softening some of the rules on endorsements and stuff like that. And I think they kind of see the writing on the wall at this point. And this, will this impact college basketball? Well, certainly it will, because the best prospects, I think, may find this offer enticing. $125,000 to fresh out of high school graduate, I think $125,000 sounds pretty good. It sounds good to me. I would imagine it would sound good to a majority of people that are coming out of high school, or in that. It would sound good to anybody at any age. Or there's someone who walked up to you and said, "I'm going to give you $125,000 to do what you love to do," and then you're going to go to the NBA draft and you're going to be drafted, hopefully, and you're going to be able to prepare with people who are going to be going directly into the league. You don't have to worry about the whole college thing of being an amateur. I mean, I think lots of people are going to get on board with this. Now, there's kind of two schools of thought here, how much it'll impact the game. If it's college basketball, it will still be college basketball. You'll still get, good prospects, but the reality is that you're not going to be getting those really upper echelon prospects maybe. Now, there may be better coaches in college. Right now, there's a better competitive balance, obviously, than in the G League, but it might be better preparation. But with this money involved, I think, you're going to see more players go in the G League, and in turn, the personnel will only improve. And don't make any mistake about it. This is a big deal. This is something to be glossed over. This is something that obviously has been given a lot of thought to, and I do think that you're going to see plenty of players choose to take this option in the future. Now, we kind of just talked about what it'll mean for college basketball. It's obviously trying to stop the one and done. I mean, I think the players should be able to do whatever they want to do. I've said it on the show in the past. I don't understand the big deal about why they can't go right to the draft. I think they should pay college athletes. Why you could listen to my old podcast about it. It gives my opinion totally in it, and I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, some objections that were raised. So, the NCAA actually came out, and Mark Emmert, the president, said that he was, essentially that he liked it, that it was giving people an opportunity to do what they want to do. And maybe in a weird way, Emmert kind of thinks that this might be a better look for the NCAA because you won't have to deal with all the one and done issues and all of the controversy that it brings. Some people hate to see it. Now, one and done, I'll tell you the truth, I don't mind one and done really either. I mean, some people mind one and done. I think that if everybody stayed in college for the full duration for 4 years, you would start to see the same team. I mean, I know you're thinking the same teams win anyway, but, you've had teams like Villanova, and this year, Gonzaga is slated to be, I've seen them in number 2 in a few polls coming into the preseason, largely because they have a nice veteran presence in addition to the good prospects that they're bringing in. You would see the same teams be completely dominant. I mean, when you think about it, you think about Duke's teams and these Kentucky teams recently. I mean, what would happen if you had John Wall running the point with DeMarcus Cousins at center, and then you just have all these other, maybe Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and all these other people who have been drafted so highly. I mean, that team nobody be able to stop them. Or maybe if Anthony Davis at power forward. If you look at Duke, I mean, what are you going to have? Kyrie Irving at point guard, and then maybe Jabari Parker down low with Jahlil Okafor? I mean, those teams are going to be pretty fierce. I think you're going to see a lack of parity in the league, and I just also think the one and done, there's nothing to say we could stop them from doing it because you're kind of forcing them to go to college right now. So who are we to tell them when you pretty much force them to go that they can't stay as long as they want and then leave? This is America. We're a capitalist country. We're about making money here. And I'll tell you right now, if I was a player, if you knew a player, if you were at a family member that was a player, I think a lot of people would probably encourage the player to get the money while you can because injuries could happen, things could happen, and while you have that immense talent, you need to use it. You need to profit off of what you have, and you'd be set. And I think that is where a lot of people would stand on the issue. And I know that's where I would stand on it. So now getting into the issues with it, I said I promised we'd get into the issue with the WNBA. Now that I went on my little rant about the one and done, WNBA has raised, and the players in it have raised some concerns about this select contract, as they're calling it. Now, I read that this contract is actually greater than the veteran maximum for the WNBA. That obviously is a little alarming in some ways. I mean, that doesn't sound right when you say it, that $125,000, I think the veteran maximum is somewhere in the $124,000 range. Obviously, that doesn't sound good. It doesn't play well when it's spoken. It seems like something's a little off there. So if we dive deep into this issue, the issue really comes down to revenue sharing and the percentage of money that athletes in the respective leagues are getting. I've read a few different things about this. The one from Forbes that I was reading, the author estimates that WNBA athletes are making somewhere, he thinks, in the area of 20% of league revenue. The players are, which is a low number considering the players are driving the industry. That's who people are coming to see, are the players. And in the NBA, they receive no less than 50. is his estimate. And I've read, 20, 25 for the WNBA and pretty much right around 50 for NBA players. So obviously, 25% of a lot of money is a big disparity there. Now, I guess the misconception here, and the WNBA players often come out and say this, is that they don't want to be paid the same as the men because they realize that the NBA makes a lot more money than the WNBA. Now, those are just the facts. And again, it's not that anybody doesn't want to see women be treated fairly. I know I certainly want to see women get the same percentage of the revenue that the men receive, because I think that's only correct. I think it's only right that we have a standard that's for both men and women that is the same. I think that's absolutely correct and needed. And I also think that the women in their pursuit of getting more money often get misunderstood. Because the common retort is always, well, the men make more money. And, of course the NBA does make more money. That's just a fact. And obviously the women could never be paid as much as the men in terms of pure salary, just because, unless their league were to equal them in revenue, just because that's the way the revenue breaks down. And, teams would be going under if they were paying the salaries of male players to female players. But I think the point here is that they want to become more equal in terms of revenue sharing and the percentage of revenue they're receiving. They want to be more level on that playing field. So not necessarily in terms of a physical number. They don't need X amounts of millions of dollars to feel as though they're on a level playing field. They just want to be treated fairly in terms of the revenue breakdown. And I think that is only appropriate and something that we could strive for. Now, some players have tweeted stuff like, where's my $125,000 contract and all that stuff, because, they would like to be able to take part in what the men are being offered. That's definitely something that the league could look at and see if they could possibly get some sort of a developmental league or some sort of a developmental league contract that's going to be put in place for the women, where they would be able to get a certain percentage. Or I'm not sure how exactly this $125,000 figure was calculated, but if the league could figure out a way to make it fair and equitable so that the women receive, an amount of money for a select contract that is in proper proportion to what the men are receiving as well in terms of revenue and all that breakdown, however they came up with this number. But overall, I think it's a good thing for basketball. I think it's a good thing for the athletes. I think it's a good thing for putting pressure on the NCAA, because I think it's about time that the NCAA realizes that what they're doing is unfair and ridiculous. And I think that in the end it will benefit everybody, because you will see players going directly to the NBA. You will see the people that don't like one and done will be able to see the same players playing for 4 years at a college, like the good old days, as some people like to think of it. So you'll get the best quality in the G League, in the NBA, and you'll still be getting a nice quality product in college, and you'll be able to relate to the players more because they won't be leaving right away, and the people that hate the one and done will hopefully start to see an end to it. And I just think that this is going to benefit everybody right across the board, especially the players, and in my opinion, they absolutely deserve it, as they bring lots and lots of revenue to the colleges they play for. So it's only right that they be given the option to make money while playing in the G League to prepare for the NBA. All right, everyone, that about does it for this week's episode of Sports Talk. We're going to have recaps coming up. The World Series will be over by our time our next episode comes out, so we could do a little recap there. We'll, of course, always be checking in with the NFL. Like I said, NBA season's underway. There's going to be plenty of storylines there. The college basketball season the exhibition games are starting. That'll be starting real soon. The NHL season, the puck is dropped on that. So, we got all 4 sports going at the same time. It's a great time to be a sports fan. And you will get it all right here on Sports Talk. Before we go this week, I want to shout out the Woodward. I want to shout out a new podcast for the Woodward. Valid Point is going to be a new podcast coming to the Woodward, and it's going to feature host Ashlyn Gallagher, and she takes you inside a bunch of unique and interesting issues. So definitely look out for her first episode, which I believe will be coming out pretty soon, and we are excited to welcome her into the Woodward podcast family. So you could be listening to Sports Talk and Valid Point. Make sure you do that. Make sure you stay tuned for the next episode of Sports Talk. Until the next Sports Talk, enjoy the games, and I'm Nicolo Manzo.